What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about one of the newest A24 movies that has been released. That I saw the trailer for this, and at first I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit and was like, oh, here we go. Another romance movie where someone is going to get an illness and eventually die. Just from the trailers, it seemed like a type of movie that I'd seen a million times before, but tried to set aside all of my bias about that because it stars Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh, who I think are two incredibly talented actors. And for that very reason, I'm willing to ignore everything else and just kind of go in with an open mind and enjoy this movie. And the film I'm going to be discussing with you today is We Live in Time. We Live in Time is directed by John Crowley. An up-and-coming chef and a recent divorcee find their lives forever changed when a chance encounter brings them together in a decade-spanning, deeply moving romance. So, as I said, I kind of rolled my eyes the first time I saw this trailer, but I was really looking forward to watching this movie because of the talent involved. And I'm happy to report that I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was great. I honestly think a lot of the middling reviews to this movie, they're a little bit harsh. I feel like people are critiquing it very heavily for being, kind of run of the mill, and that things like this have existed before. And while I do think like this isn't really doing anything new, it's not necessarily reinventing the wheel by any means. Like I said, we've seen movies before about characters that get into a relationship, illness happens, things of that nature. But what I like so much about this movie is the emotions that are attached to the film are very real. These feel like real people. It doesn't feel like a caricature of a person. So many dramatic movies surrounding like illness or disease, the people involved in the movie don't feel realistic. They feel like caricatures of human beings. And I felt like in so many moments in this movie, they felt like real, authentic people that are good people that are just going through something really terrible. And I'll talk about that as I break the entire film down. So in We Live in Time, this movie is told in a non-linear structure. So we're following these characters through different periods of their lives. And those characters are Tobias, played by Andrew Garfield, and Almut, played by Florence Pugh. And Florence Pugh's character is a chef. She's incredibly successful. She's building this restaurant for herself. And Andrew Garfield's character, Tobias, has recently gone through a divorce, and he works for this company, and his life it's just not exactly where he wants it to be. And the two of them meet because Florence Pugh's character hits him with a car, and they go to the hospital together, and they eventually go out and they start spending time together, and they form a relationship. And we jump through different periods in time. At the beginning of the movie, we find out Florence Pugh's character has been diagnosed with ovarian cancer. There's a period in time where we see her pregnant. We jump kind of all over the place, and the entirety of the film is the examination of these characters and their relationship through this extended period of time. So like I said, I thought this movie was great. I really enjoyed it a lot, and I do think some of the criticisms for this film are relatively harsh, and I hope to kind of bring my opinion out there and express why I think people are being a little too hard on this. But for starters, I just want to talk about the performances. Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh are phenomenal in this movie. Their chemistry is incredibly natural. The way they play off one another in each scene, they feel like a genuine couple. It doesn't, like, sometimes you put two actors on screen together and they just don't work, and everything about the chemistry between these two characters feels very realistic. I love their interactions on screen, just the way, like, even that they approach each other or that they look each other, like a touch on the shoulder, just any of those things. It feels like people who have been together for a while. And what's so impressive is, considering the non-linear time jumps, you can really see the stages of their relationship well based on how they interact within the frame. And that was something that really impressed me. There's a lot of little nuances in their performances that I think are really stellar and that kept me engaged through the movie. Florence Pugh has to go through a lot. Obviously, her character is dealing with a very severe illness, and so her body goes through a lot of changes. She has to showcase the illness on screen, and I think she does a phenomenal job. There's a lot of really emotionally gripping moments in the movie. Both of them do a fantastic job. As far as cinematography and presentation, the movie looks great. There's a lot of attention to detail in the cinematography, where to place characters in a scene. There's a lot of really creative shots to Pugh that use the space in a room to kind of showcase where our characters are at in a particular moment in their relationship. And I would say there's not like any harsh blow ups between these characters on screen because they're two people who just genuinely love each other. There's little things that come up like in any relationship, but I think utilizing the cinematography to show brief moments of struggle within the relationship was a really fantastic decision. And I really like a lot of the editing choices in this movie as well. It makes for a really easy watch. I also really enjoyed the score to the film and the use of music. It's not too heavy handed. I feel like a lot of times in this type of a movie, you can really rely too heavily on the music to where it's emotionally manipulating you. And you can use music in movies. And I think there's a way to utilize music to complement what you're seeing on screen. And this film does a really nice job balancing those things. I feel like we're getting so much emotion from these performers. And I really think they both do a phenomenal job. And like I said, I feel like there's a lot of criticism coming out about this movie because people are saying, "Oh, we've seen this before. We've watched movies about relationships that are affected by illnesses such as cancer." And while I can understand where people are coming from, I think what makes this movie so different is just how the emotion feels very raw and real and authentic. I am someone who has watched several of my family members pass away to cancer and struggle with cancer, and it's a very difficult thing. But what I really like about this movie is it showcases it in a way that is very natural. It showcases it in a way that feels like a real, authentic human reaction to getting cancer and how to live with it. There are happy moments, there are more dour moments, there's fighting through it, there's trying to rationalize what the best decisions are. And I thought that each step of the way the director kind of showcased how these characters were going to choose what was the best move for their life in the next direction, it just really hit me like a really hard gut punch because it felt like situations and conversations that I saw family members have as I got older. And obviously, I've seen members of my family in older age get cancer, younger members of my family, mid 30s, early 40s. Like it's difficult whenever you're experiencing something like that. And I think to take that on, it's a very daunting task to make it not come across as cliche. And I never felt that in this movie. I always felt that it was very real and depicted well. And what I also liked about this movie is the love between these characters felt very genuine. I feel like in so many of these types of movies, the love conveyed is like, oh, it's a spark and it's just like these two people coexist and it's just like they'll get two attractive people and put them on screen and hope that there's some semblance of chemistry. But I feel like in this movie, they used a kind of goofier, inciting incident for these characters to come together, but they work together very well because of their histories. And I think when we learn more about Andrew Garfield's previous marriage and we learn about Florence Pugh and her relationship with ice skating and losing her father and different things throughout the movie where we understand their backgrounds, that it makes sense that these two people came together and that they work so well together because their shared experiences have been so similar. And I thought that that was really great because there's so many people in this world that when they come together in a relationship, the trauma that they've experienced in their lives and the situations that they've gone through really get them to a point where they can build each other up and they learn from each other. But because of those shared experiences, they know how to overcome those hurdles because they've experienced them previously. And that's what I like so much about this movie. I felt like the relationship dynamics were very authentic. They felt very realistic. I feel like Florence Pugh's character was a little bit more developed than Andrew Garfield's. We get a lot about his failed first marriage and like the issues that came across with that, and a little bit about the relationship with his father. But they definitely do more of a deep dive into Florence Pugh's character and where she comes from, obviously because her character gets sick, and I feel like they wanted her to be really the focal point of the film. But I think there's enough there that we can understand the dynamics between these two characters and appreciate them whenever they're on screen and get something that works really well. And I just thought this movie was great. It showcased a very wide array of emotions It made me laugh. It made me cry. I just thought that it was really well done. And I'm honestly looking forward to revisiting this again in the future. And if you had any doubts about watching this movie, I definitely think it's worth your time. So have you seen We Live in Time? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I really liked this movie a lot. I thought it was very well done. Two incredible performances, and I'm really looking forward to watching it again. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.